Okay, here we are. We're going to welcome to the basic fundamental web design layout. And as you know, there are other classes to take in web design. This is trying to help you to understand how invaluable Photoshop is when you're trying to work out your ideas in regards to laying out images in a well-composed composition. And web pages and social media ads and advertising, all types of media screens, such as articles from major New York newspaper publishers, such as the New York Times, Washington Post, they all use layout tools. And so we're going to talk about what tools do we use in Photoshop. So I've started my layout right here. It's called Web Page 0101. I'm going to get this so we can see it full screen. There we go. And the size that I had given you is basically, let's come up over here to new. The size I had given you was found under web, and I use 1366 and then 768 as the one frame. And then I basically times it 4 because we wanted 4 frames that we're going to scroll through. Now, traditionally, web large would have gone to 1920. But because we have a long scroll screen and we're going to be putting this up to WordPress, I want it to be somewhat comprehensively sized so it's easy to load and so forth. So the tools I'm going to show you are specifically dedicated to creating web content. And the most important web content there is out there is called a website. So that's how we're going to do one page, what is often called home page or landing page. And our page is going to be scrolling. And there's lots of good reasons why that did come into the evolution of the web, mainly because you have more content already loaded on the first viewing. Instead of clicking to multiple pages over and over again, every page has to be loaded. So that is why we did the 1366 size. Now you can break that out to be larger if you would like, that's up to you. But as far as I'm concerned, laying this out to this size would be fine. And we are laying it out to a workstation size. And then we will do one page for the mobile phone extracted from this layout. And that's what we often do as well. So if you're in starting new and you went to web and you saw this, the one thing that I would like to say is that they have artboards over here. And artboards is a little bit confusing if you've been accustomed to just the way Photoshop has always been. So Photoshop is a fairly new tool, and it gives you multiple screens. It's very similar to the artboard in Illustrator. So you can create web pages that are lined up in a sequential order to be able to see. So for our purposes, be sure to turn this off. And then you can put the vertical dimension, the height. This is the width, this would be the height. And I believe it's about 3000. We can keep it to 72. And yes, we want it to RGB. And you can choose your dominant color now, or just make it transparent, whatever that may be. So white is what I'm going to be going with. So I'm going to keep it to be white. And that's all you really need to understand in regards to that. But do take note that all these parameters are up here, such as film and video, are helping you to understand what is the pixel dimension of a standard digital media format that is widely used. So Photoshop does a nice job in doing that. And here are for the mobile phones. So you can see we're pretty close, actually. Here's the tablet. 1360 is smaller than the tablet, but we're going to be doing it for the workstation. And so that's how you begin to create. So here is, I'm using a nonprofit organization whose site that I thought needed some improvement. Based on our assignment doing the hyperrealism, it is your sustainable cause. So this is a nonprofit sustainable cause. And I have brought in a hyperrealist composition that I did for the promotion of the film. So I'm going to be using that as you were bringing yours in. And then I'm also bringing in the different other media content that we need, such as the social media icons. So let's talk about that for a second. So you can utilize the existing icons in the colorizations that exist, which is fine. Or if you go to the black and whites like this, then you can colorize it in your own way. That's completely up to you as far as what you would like to do. So I wanted to show you that, but I'm going to be using the simple black and white because I like the color of the themes in regard to that, and I'll be bringing in my color theme color swatch as well. And so anyway, so I've kept this as our social media, and this particular organization would not need to have this icon, and so we can eliminate that when we get down to the production of it. So now this is the site. Let me go to it now to show you. It is Rivertown Film right here. And so this is their website. Not that exciting, but functional. Gets the information out. And so I grabbed this to be sure to use as a guide to see what they have on, and they don't even have a significant footer down here, which is why choosing nonprofits to redesign is an excellent opportunity to build your portfolio. Because they may like it and utilize it for one thing. So as you can see here, these are rollovers. And so when you are doing work in Photoshop, you don't really have motion or interactivity. So you have to just create a layer to show you upon rollover, we will see this. So on the Photoshop page that I just showed you, I would have the Photoshop layout, and then I would roll over, such as this, and I would show the visual tab of what that looks like when they roll over, as well as turning black and things like this. So that, and then if you roll down, there's a slight color change. You may not see it, slightly gray. So that is what I would be doing. And with just one layer, that's all you need, is to have one layer. So back to Photoshop. And so this way, we're now bringing in our layers, which is here. So I have this as a reference that I can move around and use as, you know, like, what was the name of that tab again? You know, that sort of thing. And then bringing in some of my ideas and sketches. What I wanted to do was to really use, you know, bring in your sketch, as we mentioned in the list. You do not have to do Shift key. I did a Control-T right now to scale. And what I want to do is bring in my rough sketch that I had here of these particular alignment of grids. And that's what I wanted to do, was to make a very visual thumbnail grid of all the movies that are being seen for that week, or promotion, or coming, or festival, film festival, whatever it may be. The organization is very dependent on images, and so I wanted to give the website lots of images, because I felt that on this one, for a film website, not a lot of images. So that's why I chose this, because it certainly can have some improvement. So what I'm doing right now is taking one of my sketch that I had sketched out 3 vertical rectangles as what I wanted to fill up the page to, but I need to size it. So what I'm doing right now is I'm making sure I'm using that grid technique. So I'm going to bring it up so it just sits right around there, and so forth. And again, don't forget, you can double click or hit that check mark up there. So now this, as you can see, this is looking like what we want it to. And I'll come to the other frame, but right now what I'm trying to do, which is what you need to be doing, is just getting this page to be set up that you can use as a template for future web page designs that you do. So that's the important thing about all that you do, is beginning to build resources and templates so that when you do go back to redesign a landing page, you have a reference that you could use and duplicate it and reuse the layouts that I'm doing right now for you, so that you can utilize it for another project. And then you just call up this file because it will become your template. And I would give it the name web page template. So the grid format is really what I'm looking for. But the one thing that I need is to understand, when does a page end and when does it begin, to be able to do the scroll. So the best tool for that is to come over here to your marquee one, and I'm gonna zoom in, so this is a little bit easier for you to see. Let's get this over here so that you can see your swatches, you can see your layers. So everything on a web dashboard when you're using is definitely dependent on your real estate. So now what I'm going to do is come up here to my marquee here, and the fixed size, I can do the fixed size. So the fixed size was, and I've already forgotten, one's 1366 and 768. So that is the frame. So I'm going to do pixel dimension. This is the width. So it's 1366 and then 768. Okay. Now, when I come over here with the marquee, it's fixed size. Remember, be sure to hit fixed size. I then can come up here, and there is my marching ants to denote when the page is changing. So I know that all the content must be well fit into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create layers here to create the grid. So I'm going to fill this up with a light gray first, using double clicking here, and get my paint bucket and just fill. There we have it. Control D. I'm going to scroll up, and you see now that kind of cuts mid-frame. So now I'm going to come up here. I'm going to give a little bit of space. So there's the next one. This time I'll go a little darker. Now there is no, I'm just showing you the way that I am working and what I recommend. Many people do it different ways. Sometimes they just use the blue guides. Remember the blue guides? You come up here, mouse down, blue guide, Mouse down, blue guide. Let's do that. And that's also very good because you can see it on the sides. But I wanted to show you how you can also do it this way because you might want to change the color of the background frame. So let me go back to here. And now we'll do this again. And then we do next one. So I'm getting it darker and darker as we go so that my footer at the end will be black. And I need a little bit more. So do remember, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, one more. And remember, if you did not have enough space, be sure to come up here to Image, Canvas. Canvas is your paper size. And on this grid, click the top because I need more room on the bottom. Go to your pixel dimensions. I'll just say 3,200. Just a ballpark. And now come back here to add the next grid. And it just about makes it. And then I fill it with black. Oops. You want to get to be sure that you have the marching ants. So I lost the marching ants. So again, bring it back up. Whoops. Control D. To get rid of those marching ants is always Control D. And now do the fill. There we go. And so, you know, having a little bit more at the bottom is fine. Or you can crop it. Don't forget you have a crop tool here. And I could bring it right up to the bottom and double click. So now that helps me to fit all on screen so that I know that all of my grids are going to be very visible. Now you can see that I've got to scale this down if I want to have quite a few grids. Within these 2 blocks is what I'm thinking. So I'm going to get this to be smaller. And again, you don't need the Shift key. I'm going to bring it down so that we have maybe 5 squares. Let's see if this will work. Remember your Alt key. No, still a little too big. Get this again, Control T. Bring this down a little bit more. As far as the screen is concerned, as a grid. Now alternate key down, you see the cursor change, and now I get my extra 2. Okay, good. So come up here to crop this. And I want to be sure I crop it right along here. But my marquee is unfixed, so I have to unfix that, go back to normal. And again, I need a ruler. Always bring the rulers up. And now I can just delete this one right here. There we go. And then because on my sketch, I had 5 grids. So 5 is always better. An uneven number is always better than an even number when it comes to some designs and the majority of them. So 5 is good. So now I have the 5. And do remember, if you want to merge things, the way to do that is right click, have the ones that you want highlighted. Now this is something I just learned this semester, so I'm thoroughly thrilled about it because it was always a pain to turn off all your layers. So highlight the layers you want to merge, which is what I'm doing here, and come up here and say merge visible. And that did not do what it's supposed to do. So let's go back. I'm going to put it into a folder. And now right click, merge group. That is the way I did it. So the merge visible did do the whole thing, didn't do just a selected, but the merge group did the work. And that was the way that I found out how to be able to merge within a document without having to turn off layers. So remember, merge is down here. Whatever layer is on, merge visible, makes sense, right? And with the group, I had it in within the group. And so now this is the grid. And it's always good to label your layers. It's often important. So now on here, again, we're going through just the basic tools, lining things up, working on your sketch. Let's move this over. And as you can see, I wanted to really fill the page. So again, I'm going to do Control T and do not need the Shift key. And I'm just going to get this so that I can get the grid to come up right about here. So they have that one box for the frame, which is good, which is great. Double click. Now, the difficulty is we are stretching, which I have been preaching all semester long. Don't stretch it, don't scale it large, don't scale it large. And this is very true. But because we're doing a web layout and you're using the assets, this is not going to go for print. This is kind of just going for the essence of the web. And so your resolution, and because it is web, a lot of imperfections can be hidden. But so for our purposes, scaling will be okay in this particular assignment. So you should be thrilled about that, because that's often frustrating. Okay, so now I have the grid that I like and how I want to fill this grid all the way up to where I want it to be, and giving room for space and so forth. So I'm going to bring this up all the way to the top, simply because I did give some bottom room to begin with. You don't want to give too much space between screens, otherwise people think, oh, there's no more left to see. So you kind of want to be somewhat very close to the edge, under 100 pixels at least. Okay, so now in the sketch design, I am wanting to do definitely a grid like this. Now the information is going to be upon the rollover, so I will show that. And some of these things are not aligning. So let's go back and show you how you can align if you keep the Shift key on. So I'm going to do Alt key to make the copy, and then I'm going to put down the Shift key to make it align, and it will lock in the alignment. So that's important to know, that if you have the Shift key on, it will align it, because I could, when I was doing it before, it wasn't aligning it. So now you can see where I'm going with this as far as the grid is concerned. And I think that's enough there, because the next page will be the sponsors. And sponsors are very important for nonprofit organizations. So you want to put them up bold and big to give them recognition for their support. So 1, 2, 3, I think that's all I want. So now I am happy with this. It's not really reaching my whole thing, so I'm going to bring it down, give myself some more space, and open this up. Whoops. Do this again. And bring this down. Just another distance there. Trying to keep along the same alignment as the distance of the width. So everything's aligned like that. Deselect, come back here. And now I have it as well. Okay. So now, now I can begin to move on to the next one. I'll clean this up when I lay over the next one. So I could, at this point, say that I could grab this and on the one that's down here. And as you can see, besides the guides, what I had turned on was the grid. So remember, if you can't see things, go to View, and usually all the things that you cannot see should be under this tab. So I had put on See the Grid. So putting that back on to show you. So Show Grid right here. When you want to change the grid, I'm on a PC. Under a Mac, it's under File, under Preferences. Here, it's under Edit, Preferences. You can come down here to Units, Grid, and that's where Properties always have what you need. So on my grid, you see I can say points, it says 0.5, I could say 0.75. And that will change my grid as well. But I'm going to keep it the way it is. But notice that it doesn't undo or save your preferences. So we'll go back, get that to be 0.5. Okay. So that's why it's important to have your grid. And that's why it's important to remember that Shift key will help you to keep things aligned vertically and horizontally for matching. So I'm going to stop right now and continue it on the next video.